we go.
Hello, hello. This is Ignacy Trzewiczek from Portal Games.
And Corey Thompson from Above Board TV, Dice Tower Dish.
Too many things. And this is the Podfather of Gaming, Stephen Bonacore. You are listening to Board Games Insider episode 355, and we're recording it on an off day, February 5th, 2025. Board Games Insider, powered by Board Game Geek. I got it now. That's going to be it. It sounds great now. I got rid of the proud of. We're proud, but that's it. It's perfect. I'm going to record that so we can just put that in all over the place.
I'll record a better one. I know the editor.
They, gentlemen, it's so good to see both of you here. It's great. Ignacy missed the big episode last time, the predictions episode. But hey, you run a business, you got to do what you got to do, of course. So, Ignacy, what's going on in business? What have you been doing? I know you had the big Portal Con and things like that.
Yeah, sorry for not being last week. I hoped I will make it. I was at the Nuremberg fair in Germany, but CEO of Portal Games, Greg, put me on so many freaking meetings that I had no half an hour of spare time even. So yeah, I was really busy. I was summoned again to do some job at Portal Games because at Nuremberg, every publisher is presenting to other publishers and distributors some new secret releases. So me being head of development, I had to be involved and to show partners and distributors what we are developing, what new games we are preparing for this year. So Greg took me for this 1 week adventure in Germany. We spent 2 very busy days at the show. Uh, every year I mentioned that once again, a shout out to our German partner Pegasus Spiele, who is kind enough to rent us and other friendly partners space to have an office, so we can have a regular office to have these meetings. This is very kind of them, and they care for all the partners. So there's many of
Yeah.
us
And
at the same space.
and to give it a little color for our audience, right? The Nuremberg Toy Fair is sort of like the New York Toy Fair, but actually maybe closer to the Gamma Trade Show, right? Where you're
Yeah.
doing business to business work. You're meeting with retailers and you're meeting with partners so that you can potentially do co-publications and licensing deals.
Few small data points this year in the app of Nuremberg Fair Day listed there was about 2,800 exhibitors. So it gives you
Wow,
a scope of how big this fair is.
that's big.
And there was, for us, for our industry, for board games, there was around 180 publishers or exhibitors because there are also manufacturers and distributors, etc. So altogether, our industry, 180 out of 2,800. So like we are tiny, tiny bit of this fair,
Right,
and we mentioned this many times during
right.
these years.
Right. So like very much like New York Toy Fair, where there's only a little bit of like the hobby there, and it's like toys, right? And mass market and stuff like that as well, right?
This is crazy how insane different toys there are, and of course, in our free time, we are looking at this, and toy industry is absolutely crazy.
Right.
Me being stuck in this small, tiny office at Pegasus Spiele space, I did altogether 15 demos. So for these 2 days, I was presenting our new releases over and over and over again to our partners. I'm very proud to say that it looks like our SN release, our main release of the year, the game called Bohemians, will have many editions this year. Like the feedback was positive. And on one hand, I know that maybe listeners will not trust publisher to brag about their own game, but I hope that facts will prove this story when I start announcing new editions because our partners from Italy, from Spain, from France and other countries were super excited about this game. So Bohemians, put it on the radar. Essenspiel is gonna be amazing. We also, of course, talked about the 20 years of Neuroshima Hex, which I mentioned in the last podcast. And we also were presenting to some of the countries the game that will be releasing at Gen Con. I'm showing it here right now on the Podfather of Gaming YouTube channel, Age of Galaxy.
Looks nice.
Yes, this is a re-edition of the game released before by Ice Makes. This is the original publisher, and we picked up the rights for the America in a couple of other regions, and we are preparing it for Gen Con for this year. This science fiction card game is freaking amazing.
Very
There
cool.
was there was couple of fun mistakes because me being super excited about everything when I'm talking about the games, I started to pitching this Age of Galaxy to some of the partners, and then Greg was telling me, Ignacy, we don't have rights for this region, so shut up. So I was a little bit too excited about this game on a few meetings, so we
Awesome.
had
That's
to.
a Steven level mistake there.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So overall, a great time. Like on one hand, of course, it is boring. I spent 2 days in a tiny office, right? This is not super exciting. On the other hand, I was talking about the games that I was developing for the past months. I was excited, so it's amazing. So in the future, you will check it out at Gen Con and Essen. The partners are able to check it right now because they have to prepare translations, etc. Overall, great Nuremberg. If I may give you one insight from Nuremberg, and I'm super eager to see the official data from the organizers. This year, Nuremberg felt very empty in terms of the corridors, restaurants. Like there was not many people from perspective of just looking at this. Like so, I don't have a strict data yet. There was no numbers published, or I didn't find them yet. But lunchtime 1 p.m. and you were able to find the spot in the restaurant. This is not common at the first. Like 1 p.m. it is really hard to get a single chair in the restaurants. And this Nuremberg, I had a awesome, funny meeting with our friend Uli from
Hmm.
Spielworks.
The
Then we
Oh,
found
best. The
yeah,
best.
then we found a table super easy and had a great chat. So this is one maybe change in the Nuremberg Fair that maybe more and more people are just doing Skypes these days and not coming to Germany.
Very cool.
Anyway, I'm talking very, very long, doing reporting. Please visit Portal Games website in the meantime, because we are running promotions every couple of days, some new things happening on our website, so check it out, portalgamesus.com. And I think that's it. I recorded the whole vlog about Portal Games, so go to our YouTube channel and you will have me talking to you for the straight 9 minutes. Lots of Ignacy on YouTube, and that's it.
very cool. I love your vlogs.
Thank you.
So, I had another interesting week. We had over at the board game house, I had Bree Goldman from Arcade Wonders celebrating her birthday. So this was absolutely amazing.
Awesome.
Had a bunch of people over the house. Kathleen Mercury drove down from Arcada, and we played games and just had an absolutely fantastic time. I played an old classic. I don't know if you guys remember this, Expeditions, which was a Wolfgang Kramer 1996 Spiel recommended game. And I had a really good time with it. It's you travel all over the world, and there's all these sites of the world on a big world map, and you travel by putting down little plastic arrows that go from one spot to another spot, and you're creating these looping routes trying to go to all the places you have cards for. It was light, but it worked. It was just a really fun game. Um, then that wound up. I'm back in the Sacramento area now, but I'm heading back to Napa in a couple days to start a drive up to Seattle and going to visit a whole bunch of friends in Seattle. Hopefully, do a little business in Seattle. And we'll see how far I make it because there are torrential rains going on right now. There's been flooding all over the place. I think I'll be okay, but it's going to be about a 2 day drive up through California, through Portland, up into Seattle. And I'll be in Seattle for about 10 days. So if anybody in the Seattle area wants to get together, play some games, meet up at Mox or one of the other game stores, just let me know. And then the only other big thing is I'm really excited about Gamma. I didn't go to Gamma last year, the first year that it was in Louisville, Kentucky, but I am definitely going this year, and we'll see what Louisville's all about. I haven't been there since ooh, the early 90s. I spent some time in Louisville with some friends, but this will be great. I heard it's a fantastic venue for Gamma. Everybody enjoyed the show last year, and it'll be great to see all my friends again. So.
That's awesome. We'll get to Gamma in a second. But before that, I am home for almost all of February, not quite, which was just great, trying to do a little relaxing here. This weekend, and I know maybe it's not important to you two guys, but it's an important event. It's the Super Bowl weekend. Now, I used to go out to Las Vegas and
The
celebrate Super
super
Bowl.
what?
Yeah. I used to go to Las Vegas. My brother had a kind of a party out there, but it's like betting and all of that's like legal now in Florida. So we now stay here. And he invites people from all over the country to come stay here locally. And we have an amazing time. And literally, we make a weekend out of this thing where there's events every day. We're going to a Panthers hockey game. We're going to a day at the races at Gulfstream Racetrack. And then, of course, we have the big game on Sunday. And if you want to follow along with all the insanity of the prop bets that we make, things like, will Mahomes throw for X number of yards? How many catches will Kelsey make? All these crazy things. If you want to follow along with all that, I'll post it on my Facebook page and I'll post it in the Podfather of Gaming group, and you can see how good or bad, more likely, that we do on the day. Going to be fun. The week after that, we're going on the Blood on the Clock Tower cruise. Now, I think most people out there know Blood on the Clock Tower is one of the hot hidden role games out there, right? And it's a massive game.
Why hot? Why don't you use the word one of the best hidden traitor games? Because this is freaking amazing.
It is a great game, but I mean, look, it's a great game. I'm not going to say. I'm just going to. It's a great game. It is, but it's big, and it's when you have like 20 players, it goes on forever. So you play it with smaller groups. I think it is a great game. But I'm going on the cruise not because of Blood on the Clock Tower. I got to meet the guys who run the company and stuff like that. It'd be kind of cool. But I'm going because, well, it's out of Miami. So it's easy. Jeff Anderson is running the cruise. It's a 5 nights. It's going to be a lot of fun. And I'll do a little Blood on the Clock Tower. I'll do more gaming, regular board gaming, card gaming, and just relax and have great dinners and things like that on the cruise. So that's going to be coming up after this. And then, of course, we roll into Gamma Expo and then Dice Tower West after that. And I see Corey at both of those events. So it's going to be, that's going to be fun. And Corey, I've never been to the Gamma Expo in Louisville. I've only been there once. So this is going to be new to both of us. So hopefully we'll get each other acclimated, and I hope you'll spend some time with me a little bit, maybe just getting around and seeing things.
Nope.
So no. Okay, good. Play to Z Games. Let's talk about that for 1 second. We've just launched Better Letters, which is designed by Scott Brady, the designer of Boop and U's and Q's and some other games. It's a word game where you have to use as many word rules as possible to score points, like starts with an E, doesn't contain a W, 9+ letters, 2 syllables. All these things are shown in a grid in front of you, and you have a minute to make 3 words and then select the one you think that'll score the most. You put your tokens down. It is great. It's so much fun. If you like word games, this is the word game to end all word games, in my opinion. It's really good. And it's, if you're smart, this is a great game. If you're dumb like me, it's hard to play this game. Simple as that. But I like it. But I really like it. I'll score like 7 points for the game, and people scoring like 25 points. But no, I've done pretty well in it. But it's a great game. Better Letters, Play to Z, Scott Brady designer. Now, let's get over to the event deck.
I have a statement.
Okay. Should this statement go in the event deck, or should it go in like my commentary?
Around this
Okay.
this
So I don't know what Jake is going to do here, but Jake, whatever you do is good with us. Go ahead.
My statement is, dear listeners, now Steven is going to talk for 10 minutes straight about the boring Asmodee. I don't want to use words.
But at least he hasn't talked every episode for the past 6 about boring
so
Asmodee.
Please fast forward 10 minutes ahead, because this will be so boring. I'm so sorry for you.
I'm going to make most of this very quick, A. Okay. And B, this is notable to our audience who wants to hear about the business side. So you can go get a cup of tea if you'd like and get a cookie, but this is important, I think,
It is my plan for the next few minutes.
Ignacy and I are going to go see a movie.
Asmodee is
Oh,
now a publicly traded company. As of the time you hear this, not as of the 5th of February. So Asmodee will be trading on its own on February 7th. So I'm not your financial advisor. And if I was a financial advisor, I'm not yours. So the first day of trading would be February 7th. You can go onto the Stockholm NASDAQ, which is easy to get to, actually, and buy the shares. I don't even have the stock symbol yet, but I'll report about that when I do get it. They've already done the conversion of the Embracer shares on that stock split that they were going to do. So that's all out there. Anybody who does own some stocks saw some changes in their position of the Embracer shares. But now we're going to see the Asmodee shares independent of the Embracer shares. The split of the other two companies, right? Embracer is becoming three companies. One is Middle Earth Enterprises, essentially, but it's more in that. And the other one, they're just calling Coffee Stain and Friends.
Yeah.
It's really weird. I don't know what they're really going to call it. I think they don't know
It's
yet.
comics and digital.
Yeah, comics and digital. Thank you. So that's going to be a separate one. They don't have dates on when those will spin, but they will spin off independently before the end of the fiscal year for Embracer, which ends on March 31st, 2025. Okay, Ignacy, that wasn't too bad. Except for the fact that we now are going to talk about the Embracer third quarter fiscal reports. So I'm going to give you the highlights. There's a lot of text here, but I'll give you the highlights. The net sales for Embracer year over year was 2% up, but their organic growth, that's the growth of internal lines and products, not for mergers and acquisitions, was up 10%. Their biggest segment by far is tabletop games. Almost 500 million US dollars, 448 million US dollars, compared with PC console at 238 million, mobile games at 151, and entertainment and services, that would be like Middle Earth, at 281 million dollars. So these are good numbers. The growth is moving forward. 10% growth for a big company like this is a very good number. That's the organic side of their growth. So I'm not, people were talking about the end of the world when, Embracer didn't get their loan and things like that. No, they're managing this very well, and they're managing it through to the end to break up these companies. And hopefully, as we like to say, the parts are greater. The sum of the parts are greater than the original whole. So let's see what happens. Now we get into.
I think yes. Now Jake can do some noise to wake up our listeners.
You guys are terrible, terrible. So now we have, the air quote bad news that's been going on in the industry, and this is the Diamond Distribution bankruptcy, right?
Yeah.
And there's a couple of items on here, and the one of them is that they've now created milestone dates for the sale of various assets within the company. And they're fast tracking this. They're not playing games here. There are people coming in like barbarians at the gate at this point saying, no, we want our money because we actually gave Diamond, this I found out this morning, we gave Diamond product in the last 45 days. Therefore, we want that product back. And they're allowed to do that, except for the fact that Diamond's probably already sold all or most of that product, and now they have to wait in line with all the other creditors. So this is being fast-tracked. We're going to probably see lots of information on this coming out over the next couple of months.
Yeah, and on ICV2, there are tons of articles regarding details
Yeah.
of Diamond. Even this morning, at an hour before we went live, there was another article about Pokemon demanding their, as one of the major creditors, demanding their slice of the pie.
Yep. That is the one that I was referring to. That's exactly right. Pokemon was the one that came and said, no, wait a minute. Before the rest of the creditors get their money, we want our money because of, and they're filing in court. Now, another thing, as you just mentioned, ICV2 is where a lot of this information is coming from. Milton Grip, who is the president or the owner of ICV2.com, he wrote a very excellent article. Milton's been in the industry literally forever. He's a really nice guy, and with deep knowledge of how everything works. And he explains how we got here, where we are now and where we're going from here. And it's a really interesting article. The highlights basically are that it really was the pandemic and some bad decisions that Diamond made to shut down during the pandemic for 7 weeks, which therefore everybody lost their confidence in Diamond distribution. And now we're going to be doing sales, and who's going to be the buyer? That's going to be interesting. Is it going to be Universal Canada, which has come with their stalking horse bid, meaning this is the bid that we will put in as a starting discussion? Will it be Asmodee? Will it be one of the smaller like Southern Hobby, which is very big in distribution of comics? Maybe they come in if they can buy part of this business. How are they going to split it up? Is it going to be like game distribution, toy distribution? It's a mess. Let's just say this. And people who are out there listening, a lot of people are like, I don't really care too much about comics. It's a big mess for people who are in that side, and a lot of your games are sold by the same people who sell comics. So this is a big to-do for a lot of people out there. All right. Moving into the next thing. I'm going to mention this because ICV2 mentioned it, but Ascending Empires Zenith Edition is coming to retail. That is the first game that was crowdfunded by Play to Z. And they're reporting on it, and they always say nice things about Play to Z because they talk about us as an all-star company. That's very nice. So you'll be able to get the Ascending Empires Zenith Edition in retail starting on February 5th. So check that out. Friendly local game store or friendly online game store. What do we have here? We have an Uwe Rosenberg story. Corey, you must have put this one here. I know how much you love.
Absolutely. That one's really fascinating to me, mostly because a little bit of background. I did an interview with Uwe a long time ago at Essen. This had to be 2018 or 17. And at that time, Uwe told me that he had 3 games made already that had to do with issues in Ghana, had to do with ecologic issues, financial issues, class struggle, political issues. The only one that I know that has definitely come out is Adiwa, which has to do with ecologic issues and fruit bats and reforestation. But the news that happened last week is that Uwe Rosenberg has a joint project with 18 other publishers to reforest areas around Ghana.
It's amazing.
So this is the Click-a-Tree. Click-a-Tree is his most recent game that has to do with living conditions in Ghana. And now the designer is brought on board with 18 other board game publishers to create a new forest within Ghana. And it's really interesting. You can see a map of this region, and it's a who's who of board game designers. Each little chunk of this region is attributed to a different publisher. So we've got Hansum Gluck, we've got Hansum Gluck Forest, Feuerland Forest, Skellig Forest, Uwe Rosenberg Forest, Amigo Forest, Game Builder Forest. It's just amazing that there's so many groups getting involved in this. It's just fantastic. It's getting tied into the Click-a-Tree Kickstarter campaign, which I think has just ended. Pardon me, morning.
Good morning.
So I just think it's a great, a fantastic get-together of a lot of the European publishers for a really good cause within Ghana.
That is just a really cool story, and the way that that's unfolding.
It's a Board Game Wire story.
Yeah, thank you.
And that's an interesting story. I'm referring to your stories.
Oh, very nice.
I bring in the interesting, the human side, the non-number side of board games.
A couple more. This one very quickly. David Waybright, who's from Man vs. Meeple, is becoming the CEO for global marketing for CMoN. That's an amazing, amazing thing.
Congratulations.
I mean, that's huge position. I mean,
It
CMoN, one of
is.
the biggest players in the industry, of course, and David now taking on that role. Congratulations. He's a very good friend, and he's just a really just nice, genuine person. I spoke to him very briefly to congratulate him, and he was nervous but excited for the whole thing. And I'll see him we'll see
Yeah,
him at the Gamma Expo. So
same.
that's
David
great.
is an amazing guy.
Yeah.
So, and quite honestly, Cool Mini has been sort of quiet for a little while. They've had restructuring. Preddy left, and then we have a restructuring of Cool Mini. I think this is a really good move.
Yeah, there was yeah, because Portal Games is a partner for CMoN for Poland, so we are in a touch with them regularly. So yeah, there was a lot of changes, internal changes in the company in the past months. So I guess David is like one of these changes. Congratulations to him. And yes, we have some information what's coming up from CMoN Games as their partner. So they have a couple of great games, and David will just have pleasure to talk about them and market them and prepare all the campaigns. So a
Yeah.
nice job.
Yeah, indeed. So the next one is will be our last story, and it's a very, very sad news, and it's about designer Dani Garcia from Arborea, Barcelona, and Windmill Valley fame, and he's been sadly diagnosed with ALS, which is commonly known as Lou Gehrig's disease. Corey, I think you probably put this in here too. Did you?
Danny's been up and coming in board game design. Definitely one of the very hot designers. Barcelona was big hype. Arborea just was recognized, and Windmill Valley was super recognized. Been very prolific, and so many fantastic games. So we just wanted to give all our best wishes out to Danny and all of our support.
Indeed.
So yeah, it's sad, but Danny is an amazing person and will come through this and make great games, So I have no doubt.
Absolutely. And with that, let's get over to strategy and tactics. All right, Ignacy, we've been holding this question back for you because it's about something that it has you all over it. And it's from Adam Michaud. He's a friend. He's at AW Writer. He says, in a recent podcast, Bonacor lamented passing on publishing Rococo because he didn't know how it would sell. For the publishers, are there any other near misses or regrets for games you let slip through your fingers? How did you let them get away? For Corey, do you have any game industry regrets? Missed interviews, games you wished you had championed? Ignacy, anything that got away from you that you really wish you would have done?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I believe we answered similar questions some times ago because we are recording this podcast for 10 years already. So I did here in Poland, I did the whole 1 hour YouTube show discussing the top 10 games that I had on my table. I had contract on my table and I refused to sign because I'm a stupid. And this and this list has some major titles like I refused to sign Spirit Island, for instance.
Ouch.
I refused to sign King of Tokyo, for
Ouch.
instance. I refused to sign Clank first.
Oh.
It's too
So
bad that none of them did
Yeah,
well.
none of those did
so
well.
Now, I just want to insert really quickly my very favorite localization title. Clank has a different name in almost every language to represent the
yeah,
sound of clank,
It's
and I
funny.
am incapable of pronouncing the Polish version of clank. So if you could please do me the honor of telling me what clank's name is in
with
Poland.
pleasure. Polish title for Clank is Brzdąk. Brzdąk.
Stunk. Stunk.
Brzdąk.
I love it. It sounds like you're stubbing your toe.
Stunk. Nice. I
Brzdąk.
like it.
So yeah, to make it even more funnier, I for this YouTube show I did about 10 games I had not signed. I invited my sales team so they can hear their boss losing all the best licenses for Polish market, and they were just crying on camera. Yes, of course, we all sometimes miss the potential, like because of we misunderstand the rules, because the demo was not good, because the timing is not good. There's so many various reasons,
Well, and
and
you
that's
never know how the game's going to do. You don't really know if this is
Yeah,
going to be a winner of a game.
you
so
you never know.
for Spirit Island, for instance, and for King of Tokyo, we managed to later, years later, get these rights to Portal Games. And so we are proud publisher of these games now in Poland. But yes, there's a lot of anecdotes and funny stories about them missing the opportunity, even though it's in front of your eyes and you don't see it somehow.
That is great. Any games, Adam goes on, that we have gotten rid of from our collections, but regret giving up?
I don't understand the question.
Corey has never gotten rid of a single game from his collection. That's great.
No, I got rid of over the pandemic. I actually sent a message out to friends, and I put about 400 or 500 games out on my porch, and just let people take whatever they wanted. I didn't say hello to any of them. I stayed inside, and they picked them up from the porch. And there's a few in that pile that I look for every once in a while and go, "Oh, I know I used to have this."
So I
So
have a story. I have a story. I always have a story.
Of course, that's great.
So at PortalCon, we do charity auction
Nice.
when I do games and people bid for them. And I took a game from my collection and people were bidding. And in the room there was my wife Mary, and she looked what I'm trying to sell and she yelled at me, "No way, we are getting rid of this game." And then there was a silence in the whole room, and people started bidding. And I knew that I'm in trouble right now because Mary really wants this game back at home. And luckily, I was saved by one of the bidders, the winner of the bid action. Put money on the charity and took the game and give it as a gift to Mary back, so she had this
that is
game.
so nice.
So he
That is
saved my life
beautiful.
because I would be killed at home
And
by Mary.
What?
So
real
yes,
quick, I was asked about board game regrets and missed interviews. So the funny story, when I was in Germany for Essen 2 years ago, I got to go to a board game prototyping and design meetup, and I was there with Wolfgang Warsch and with Alexander Pfister. And Pfister asked me if I wanted to do a dinner interview right there. And I thought about it. I said, no, it wouldn't be a great one because we were in a prototyping group and there were a lot of games being played.
Nice.
I didn't want to isolate ourselves off from the rest
Sure.
of it. I said, we have plenty of time. We'll do it later. Still have not managed to do that dinner with Pfister. And I would love to. He's the nicest guy in the world. So that is the big interview regret.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Adam C., he's at SETI. Follow up to episode 343 with respect to app games. Thoughts on companies that promise to open source the code for their apps once they stop selling the game. I believe Restoration Games even has an official escrow which would have a third party open source the code in case Restoration goes away.
I
That's
have
interesting.
I have a strong opinion on this.
Ooh,
I think
I'm backing away from
I
Corey. He's about to punch somebody, I think.
I don't think it's a real problem. I think that the lifespan of a game is nothing compared to the lifespan of an app. I think that games come and go, and when you buy a new game, everybody worries about, can I play it 20 years from now? Chances are you won't. Games just don't have that long a lifespan in general. So making sure that apps survive the lifespan of a game, there's been almost no
All right.
apps that have gone away and affected the lifespan of a game. I don't think this is a problem. I think it's there for public perception.
Well, I won't comment on the last thing you said about public perception, but I disagree vehemently with what you just said. Vehemently.
What
with what
game are
just said.
you upset you can't play now
No,
because the app
that's
went away?
that's not the vehement objection. The vehement challenge to what you're saying is that there are plenty of games behind me here that are more than 20 years old that I have played in recent history.
Yeah,
Plenty.
but
So
if it's a super popular one, like let's take XCOM, one of the first app games, the app's still around. You did great.
Not the point. The point is that what if it's not a super popular game? And then somebody just likes the game and wants to continue playing it. You've
Are
been
you
playing.
sad you can't play Golem Arcana anymore?
I am not sad. I personally am not sad about anything I cannot play. And in fact, I don't have anything that I cannot play. My point is that you're not correct. People will continue playing games 20 years in the future. And if they can't play a given game, oh well, there's another 2,000 games
It's
behind them.
well,
So
that's it.
I'm
It's the concept of the popularity. If the game is still played 20 years from now, the app will still be around. But I don't think this is a real problem.
I don't think it's necessarily a problem. I'm making a point that you're not correct about playing game. It could be an unpopular game with an app
Sure.
that simply you won't be able to play, and that's okay, guys. You got all this wonderful playtime out
Yeah,
of it. Now, by its uh by its successor, because every game has got sort of a spiritual successor, something that uses some of those mechanics and has
sure.
riffed on it and has done better. In fact, get that game, put that in the collection, and start playing that one instead.
Having
There you
said
go.
that, I think what Restoration did is absolutely amazing, and I think it's a
Yeah,
fantastic measure. But I think it's a lot more public perception than reality.
fantastic company, Restoration Games. Rob Davio and Justin Jacobson running that company. Fantastic. Karen Hola
Whoa,
from
whoa, whoa,
Canada.
whoa,
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 whoa.
whoa, whoa. I was patiently waiting
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
Sorry,
Go
sorry.
ahead.
because it happens that I am designer of the game with the app. So I have a strong opinion as well.
Oh, another story. Go ahead. What do you
Okay.
No.
got?
I just want to, first of all, I just want to mention that Corey, I need you in my public relation group because your statement is what I need. This is first point. Second point, Steven, how's your VHS player doing? Did you watch some VHC lately? Like, let me know, like, how's it working?
Good,
I have a
good.
beta.
In life, everything gets changed and replaced. And please don't tell me that board game is the only product on planet Earth that has to have infinite long life.
I'm pretty sure that I don't have VHS games here, but I'm pretty sure I've got some DVD games here, and I don't have a
Because they
DVD player.
changed the VHS game to DVD
And
when
then,
the game was still popular. And then when DVD went away, they made it available digitally.
right, right.
If the game is popular, they keep up with the technology
Oh,
or they progress the technology.
the garbage I have over here is definitely not popular. I believe.
And we're talking about Atmosphere or the VHS Star Trek game, or they're great.
Yes, you can find an MP3, MP4 digital implementation of all those things. And but not because they're popular, because somebody said, you know what? I'm going to implement that someplace else out of a labor of
I think
love.
it's a popularity thing. They are
Okay.
popular. They're
All
cult popular.
right. All right. Ignacy, your comments are very well accepted. Corey's, I deprecate your
I'm not
comments.
done
Goodbye.
yet.
He supported me, and you said I'm poop, and he's great.
I did. You are poop. He is great. Go ahead.
And what Corey is absolutely right with this thing that if the game is popular, the app will be supported by the publisher because it makes sense. And this is like only theoretical question if the game will be supported. Of course, if it sells, it will be supported. The problem that people are having is that if the game is not supported, because the game is not popular and the publisher wants to get rid of the game and close it and don't want to pay for the coders to to update the app with the new system, etc., etc. And this may be the case for Portal games in few years. In 2027, 2 years from now, we will have 10th anniversary of First Martians, and everybody knows that the First Martians was not a very popular game. I'm paying for these 10 years for the mm, for the app support and the updates, etc., etc. And at some point, we will have to make decision that we no longer can support the app, and we
Sure.
will make it everything as open source on the website, so you can go to the website and play on the website. So we will make this game still playable. But I agree with the Corey that I have not signed contract for the lifelong support for this game. You had 10 years to play this game. It's pretty long time.
That's true. Very good.
So we will see in a few years how I will approach First Martians, and we'll see.
I'm gonna move on now for our last question. I guess I have the name for this episode, the one about apps in games that may not be supported. I'm gonna figure something out.
No,
It's
no.
gonna be something like that.
The one about Ignacy is great and Corey is poop.
We could do that one too. We could use that. I'm sure Mary would love to put that one on the title since she posts our episodes on the website. Anyway, Karen Hola from Canada. She's at K Hola, very good friend of the show.
Yeah,
She asks a couple of questions. Question one: how do gamers feel about games that score negative points as an overall scoring mechanism? I don't mean losing points due to a specific incident in the game. I mean achieving a final score of negative points. Let's start with that one, and then we'll get to the next thing. What do you guys think?
I have
I
yet. Okay,
oh
please go ahead.
please.
Ignacy, please.
Yes, I have a strong belief that players like to get points. I have a strong belief that players like to have a lot of points. So if I have a choice to you get 10 points, or you get 1 point, or you get -5 points, I think that getting 10 points is awesome.
Yeah.
So this is a psychological thing. Like we like to get stuff, not to lose stuff.
Absolutely agree. And for a while, the example I can think of is Arc Nova. Arc Nova
See,
has a scoring mechanism with theirs. You subtract this amount of points from that amount of points. And often people will end up with a negative
right,
total at the end of the game. And
right.
there was discussion about redoing the whole
Well,
point system to make it all positive.
which they did in the next one of the next printings of the game. They
Yep.
changed the game board such that you don't score. You will not score negative points anymore in that game. They basically added 100 points to everyone's score, so you're not going to be negative. Something like that. That's not exactly right,
Which
but
feels better.
it just and the first time I played Arc Nova, which is a genius game by the way, it's a heavy game. It's takes so long to really get how to win that game, but I'm now pretty good at it after playing it on BGA so much. It's the fact the first time I played that game and I had negative 15 points and the winner had 20 points or 10 points or whatever. I was like, I just spent 2.5 hours and I got negative 15 points. It doesn't matter really. It's not a thing. Just
Sounds bad.
an arbitrary number, which they do now on the new board. And now you've scored a positive number of points. It literally doesn't matter, but there is an absolute psychology to that. And this
Yep.
goes into Karen's second question. As a game designer, Ignacy, maybe Bonacore a little bit, why do you choose negative end game scoring versus positive? The answer is we don't, right? We try not to. You just said you don't want to do
Yeah.
that. So you'll have the ability to score positive points in any way you can, right?
And I will try to make that your score is not 4 points, but 40. Like
Yeah.
that you feel like you did something epic.
Yeah. And then that actually
Yeah.
brings up my game, which I've talked about, right? Being released by Asmodee at Gen Con 2026. That's their goal, their promise to me. That game at first was scoring very few points, and people were saying, I spent an hour and I only scored a few points. They wanted to score more. We gave them more points. So now you score more points in the game versus, for various things that you do. And then, that's part of the development process.
And the interesting twist on this is, how do you guys feel about games like No Thanks, where you score points, but points are bad? And this is in a lot of
Oh,
card games, a lot of trick takers, where you just don't want to score points. And I think psychologically it works because you've just flipped the whole model. There are a lot of points, and you feel that Schadenfreude, that joy on other people's failure when they score a lot of points, and psychologically you feel a lot of points.
I think that's fine because it's like golf scoring, I call it, right? The
Yeah, yeah,
lowest number of points, you're at the least number of points. In fact, in a lot of those games, 0 is your best score. I play the Seven Seals,
yep.
DC Ben Siegel, Kill Steven Seagal, whichever you want to call that game. I think it's published these days as
You're the only one who calls it
Zap.
that.
Everybody I know calls it Kill Steven Seagal, which I do not recommend doing. That nobody go out there and kill Steven Seagal, please. Who will probably kill you because he's like, it's like kung fu and stuff like that. Anyway, so that game, you start at 0 and you're descending through the 7 seals of hell going down. So you're always scoring bad points, but that's fine. Kabanga, the light Kabanga is lowest score wins. And that's fine. I think that completely changes the entire thing. And with that, gentlemen, let's get over to play testing. All right, Corey, as usual, you've given us this beautiful question that we took last week, and now we can find out what our audience is saying. We got a lot of
We did.
commentary.
We got 3 pages.
3 pages, which means over 50, maybe 60 comments. I'm going to go deep. You guys go first and second page. I'm going deep to figure out what's going on here.
So the
I,
question was, what was the very first hobby board game you ever played? And we tried to put little limitations on hobby board game. And even so, there were little outliers. I'm not going to count Risk as a hobby board game. And there were a lot of Risk. And I know it's a gateway and it definitely has some of the feel. Axis and Allies, man.
no, no,
That's
no,
hobby.
no,
I'm
no,
it's
no,
right on the edge.
no.
No,
And there were quite a few
Ign-
Axis and Allies out there.
Ignacio's disagreeing with something. What's
I'm
going on?
disagree.
What's going
No,
on?
I'm disagreeing that Axis and Allies is not a hobby game.
Oh,
It's a
okay.
mass,
Okay,
it's a mass
okay.
market game. Like, no.
It was definitely sold mass market through a
Yep.
mass market company, but I think it was an early 4X.
Okay. So,
I was looking at this in these answers, and I'm surprised. I don't know if you gentlemen as well, that we report and we discuss in the podcast and basically in the industry that Ticket to Ride and Catan and Carcassonne, getaway games, most of the gamers came to the hobby through Ticket to Ride, Catan or Carcassonne.
Yeah,
Not that many entries here in the answer, so we have a very weird audience, or what?
we do. And I want to just say, I think we have an old audience.
we
I was surprised by how many mentions there were of 3M bookshelf games, feudal, things that date to the 70s for heavy play and even the 60s for play.
Uli from Germany said real classic Borodino by SPI in 1979. So he's old, I guess, because I was born in 1976. So like I
Ugh.
was 3 years old when he started playing.
So you're saying we don't appeal to the Gen Z and the what's the next one called? The Gen Alpha crowd. We don't appeal to those. It's only old people. That's what you're
We
saying
have a
here.
few. We have a few, but they certainly are just swamped by
Yeah.
Fortress America and
Yeah.
3M and
I think by
all the greats.
I think by far the biggest ones were Catan, Ticket to Ride, and Pandemic. Those were the biggest ones we got. But there were a bunch of other things that were in there. My best guess is Titan, by Joey Larson says. Remember Titan, guys? I loved it. And then
Yeah.
many years ago at a family reunion, my famous uncle, Sandy Peterson, bought Titan and he let me play it with him. I'm quite sure I was dead by the end of the third round, but it got my brain pumping. To my dismay, later on, I accidentally put a chair leg through the lid of the box. To my great relief, he didn't
Oh.
freak out. Maybe he didn't properly notice. Great,
John
great.
Knost said, I think I probably mentioned this within the guild before, but for me, my gateway was Starfleet battles.
Oh
I
yeah.
was big, big, big into Star Trek as a kid. And the summer before my freshman year of high school, I met a group of friends that would form my inner circle over the next 3 years. One of them taught me this Hex Encounters game that looked like doing taxes between rounds, but felt like you were really captaining a starship.
Yeah.
That's the game I was obsessed with all through high school and into college.
Yeah. Yeah, in the category of old school, Marshall S., he says, I guess it's how you define hobby board game. In the late 70s and 80s, I played Wiz War. I remember that. That got a
Yes.
reprint. 1830, very heavy economic 18XX game. Squad Leader with its more advanced brother, ASL Advanced Squad Leader. Third Reich, oh my God, big. Does Wiz War count? It's a small skirmish-like game. Sure, it counts. I mean,
It
definitely a hobby
definitely
game. Yeah.
counts. That's
All those games
hobby.
are seriously pretty heavy games. Wiz War is the lightest of
Yeah.
those. Anything else that stands out?
For me, there was Chris, yes, Chris Gravieu. He has very weird friends because they invited him, I guess, for the game, and it was the first game of his life, Battlestar Galactica, as a traitor. So like he had like a epic entry in our world.
Absolutely.
Very, very cool.
Eric Langenbach brought up Dungeon Quest. I remember that one. That
Oh yeah.
was definitely mass. That was my follow-up to Talisman. I
Yep.
mean, not mass. That was hobby. That was GW.
Right. We're going really long here. So let's get to this week's question, which Corey again did. Corey, thank you so much for getting all these questions here. And this question could make me cry. Go ahead, Corey.
It could. What board game, if ever, has made you cry?
We might have talked about this when I played
Like
it.
emotional involvement.
I mean, this game, and I really will get choked up as I talk about it. I played at the Gathering last year, the Gathering of Friends last year or 2 years ago, This War of Mine. And
Oof.
oh my God, is this a hard game to play? It's about the war in Bosnia, which is not too unlike a lot of the stuff going on right now in Ukraine, sadly. And it is horrible. I mean, it's an amazing game. If you want to see how a board game can evoke emotions, tell stories, this is the game for you. And I was so upset at the end of that game. We all died. That's okay. But the things that came out in there, oh wow. It's it's
Oh, it
it's
is
brilliant game. When
brutal
it
storytelling about
first
the innocent victims, about not the combatants, but
but
the people who just live there.
the innocent victims of war. I think this is the first game by Awakened Realms. Is that right? I mean,
Yeah,
Ignacy,
yeah.
you know them very well. I think it was, right?
That's for sure Michael Oracz and Jakub Wiśniewski. I'm not sure if it was Awaken Realms or somebody
Oh,
else, but I know that was the first game Michael Oracz did after he left Portal Games, and the game is absolutely brilliant. It's adaptation of the video game,
yep.
and yeah, it's the concept is brutal.
Yeah.
War from the perspective of the civilians.
Yeah. Guys, any here experience a true hard emotion after enduring playing a game?
It's I've always kind of been fascinated by board games, and this is going to sound weird, but board games that are not inherently fun, board games that bring an experience and bring you around and tell a difficult story. And the big one for me was Billy Care, The Troubled Life of Billy Care.
Mhm.
And it's you
Wow.
play as a healthcare worker for a terminal
Oh.
patient named Billy Kerr, and you learn about his life as you are trying to prevent his, unpreventable death. And
Oh.
the problem is he's not a good person.
Oh my God.
And it's just the play of emotions back and forth. It's such a great example of artistic storytelling in a painful manner.
Wow. Anything come to mind for you, Ignacy? You love story games.
Yes, but for stories, for me, is a role-playing game. So like, I invest
Mm.
a lot with when I do with my friends role-playing games, and there was of course a lot of emotional game sessions. For board games, chips, cookies, and fun, and luckily I'm not investing that much in emotionally in regular board games. Rather, if there is any game that made me cry, I was crying of laughing
There you go.
hard many times playing
I
different
think that
party games.
counts.
That counts.
Yes.
That absolutely counts.
So,
Uh,
so this is it.
all right. So right now, Ignacy is going to create a thread. If he
Okay.
remembers how to do that on Board Game Geek in
I'll
our
do my
guild
best.
for you to answer, and then we'll put the link in there so I can click on it next week. Please go to the guild on Board Game Geek and find this playtesting thread, and maybe we'll take your answer to the question next week. In the meantime, the final scoring. Thank you all so much for listening, and help us spread the word about this podcast by telling your friends to download Board Games Insider wherever they like to get their podcasts, or watch Board Games Insider on the Podfather of Gaming YouTube channel. If you want to be part of this podcast, you can go to the guild, sign up. You're a member of the guild. Then ask us questions for the strategy and tactics segment, and answer our question to you from the playtesting segment. It's easy. You guys are smart. Do it. Interact with us on social media. The handle for all of our social media is basically the same. If you're on Facebook, X, Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, and YouTube, please use at Board Games Insider, at Portal Games US, at Podfather Gaming, at Dice Tower Dish, at Play to Z Games, at Above Board TV, and at Nerd About Show. Follow us on your social media of choice and talk to us. We love hearing from you. Special call out, of course, to the YouTube channels, which we do the most work with, and that's Portal Games Studio, The Podfather of Gaming, and Above Board TV. We would really love to see you in person at an upcoming convention. Industry friends, a lot of you listen to this too. I'll be at Dice Tower Expo with Corey. Let's talk. Let's hang out. maybe do a little mini interview that we post. We'll see what happens. And then we're at Dice Tower West. We can just game and game and game. It's going to be amazing. Board Games Insider, professionally edited by Jake Thompson. Who's that guy, Corey? You know him well. Thank you,
Picked
Jake,
him
for
up on
being
the street somewhere.
part of the team. And that great voice you hear doing the intro, the outro, the in-between segments is that of Ray Greenlee, and he can be contacted to do your voiceover work at raygreenleevoiceover.com. So, gentlemen, the end of an episode. I'd like to mention a little thing that's about to happen very soon. Corey and I, we're going to get into a role-playing game together. Ignacy was not invited because he's too busy. If he wants to be in, we can talk. But we're going to be doing the One Ring Second Edition role-playing game campaign, which is something that is very near and dear to my heart. Corey doesn't know very much about the Lord of the Rings and Tolkien universe, so I'll guide him through it. But no, in all seriousness, I've been wanting to play in this system since it came out. And
Who is Game Master?
So somebody I have never met in my life, and I actually
Wow.
spoke to him for the first time in video yesterday, professional DM, and I saw that he was coming out with a campaign, and I think we met up on Instagram chat. I don't even know. Just a lovely human being, knows the universe, knows the system, which is very, very, very different if you're an old school D&D player or any of these systems that kind of are based in a similar manner. I'm having trouble grokking the system, but he got it. We're going to have a great time, and we're definitely going to report on how this goes over time. So that's kind of cool.
Great for you.
Cool, cool, cool. Anyway, guys, we'll see you next week. Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
See you, everyone.